how to combine meshes or geometry into one mesh. So first, let's delete all of these. So right now, if you look at the outliner, there's nothing in here except for the scene collection and collections, which we'll explain in another video what those are. If you go to add, let's say mesh cube, a new cube mesh will be created. I'll deselect the viewport in here. Now, if I go to add mesh, let's say add a cone, while it's still selected, I'll move it to, actually I'll undo because the front is actually here. I'll move it to the side here. You see there's two objects in here. I'll deselect, move that there. And I'll go to add mesh, let's say monkey, which is a Suzanne. The Suzanne model is pretty good to use if you're not used to, or you're not sure which way is the front facing. So in this case, I'll take the cube and I'll move the cube to the side. So using Suzanne, at least it could help you with the direction if you're not used to looking at the orientation here with the axes, or you're coming from another 3D package and could get confused which direction's forward. So you could use a Suzanne model as a reference. As we could see here, these are three separate meshes. Let's say we want to combine all three of these into one mesh. So it's the same geometry, but instead of, if I select this, you see there's an orange dot. That's the origin of where that object is. So if I change it to the move manipulator, you'll see that there are three different spots where these exist. Now, if I combine it into one, all three of them will just have one spot. So if I want to combine all three of the geometry, let's say to the Suzanne model, what you do, I'll go to the select mode, select all the other geometry first. So I'll select this, hold shift, left mouse button, click the other one to add to the selection. And you could select multiple geometry and you make sure you choose the one that you want to merge it to last. So I'll shift select Suzanne here, or the monkey model. And then what you do is go to object, join, or you can press Ctrl J. And now you'll see over here that it's all merged or combined into one mesh, which was the last one, that was selected, which was Suzanne. So now I'll still in object mode. If I select, all three geometry are selected, no matter which one I select. I deselect them and select each one. And if I choose the move tool, you'll see that the origin of where that object was for Suzanne is the origin for all of them. So if I deselect, select here, you'll see it's all combined into one. Now, if you want to separate these objects, how you would do it, you have to go into edit mode and I'll deselect. What you have to do is have the mouse, you can be in face mode. I think you could work in any of these modes. So if you could have the mouse float over geometry and press L, just, you don't click left click with a mouse button or right click or middle mouse button click. You just have your cursor float over the object and press L on your keyboard. And it will select basically linked polygons. In other software, they might call them shells, like in Maya, or element in 3ds Max, or islands if you ever use Softimage XSI. But basically geometry that are not, basically all geometry that are actually linked together or faces are linked together is considered one. So if you select that, now I go into mesh in the viewport menu here, mesh. Before we did object, but now we're in edit mode, we go to the mesh, and then we go to separate here, and then we'll say separate selection, what we have selected here. So now it created a new object. If I go back to object mode, it will just take the same name you have and just append or add at the end .001 or whatever number it's iterating. So you see that's one object. Even though the origin's here, you could see the highlighting over here. It's yellow. And this is another object, but it took the same origin spot because it derived from this object. So if I want to separate this one, select the object, go to object mode, it will edit mode, sorry. Hover over it press the L key, go to merge, separate, selection. So now we separated that out. I'll go back to object mode, and I go to select. You'll see I can select each one of these individually. I'm going by outliner. And you can see that they're all selected different individually. However, the names, they just append different numbers at the end of it. So it's up to you to go and rename them. So I could go back and rename this to cone. That's Suzanne. And this is Q. But because they came from this model, their origin, or if you see the move manipulator, is the same for all of them, even though they're three different objects. So if I take one and I could separate it, you see that even though the geometry is over here, the origin is there. I could take this one, move it like that. So these are where the origins are. I'll just delete these, and what I'm going to just show, if we had, let's say we take, add a cylinder. Actually, no, I'll undo that. We'll add the UV sphere. If we go into edit mode, go to a face, select the face, and alt. Okay, so let me just explain if you don't recall. Select the face, hold alt, and go near the edge of this other face, and it will ring select or loop select the faces in that direction. And then you can press delete, and then you choose faces. So what happens now, since these faces are not connected anymore, if I hover over one of the areas or the linked geometry or shell or element or island, depending how you want to call it, depending what 3 package you came from, just hover over it and press the L button. It will select all those together. If I go down and press L, it will add to the selection. So you have to deselect if you wanted to select that by itself. But if I press undo before I deleted it, and I deselect, and I hover over and press L, everything will be selected because they're all connected.
Thank you for watching. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, and hit the notification bell.